Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Annie, this is Stanley, and we're here to talk about books. And this is going to be my take on the very popular BookTube format of the Unhaul project. And I have to credit G over on Book Roast for inspiring the title, because in her shelf help series, she puts her books she's going to unhaul on the Yeet pile. And that was what gave me the idea for the name. And basically, I have created a subset of my physical and ebook TBR of 25 books, which I think I'm probably never going to pick up if I have other options, but I still want to give them a try and see whether I like them. So I've created a spinner wheel of all of these less appealing titles from my TBR. And when I run out of my main TBR in each month, I'm going to switch to this project and I'm going to select a book, give it 50 pages, and then decide whether to read it or yeet it. And that's how it's going to work. And I'm going to keep doing that until I run out of days in the month and then move on to my next TBR. So welcome to Read It or Yeet It. So here we are, start of the very first episode of Read It or Yeet It. I have already finished the physical books that I selected for my June TBR, and so I am moving on to the Read It or Yeet It challenge. So let's go and see what the spinner wheel of doom has in store. Okay, so first spin of doom. Oh, Stanley, I'm scared. What's it gonna be? Ooh, A Wedding in December. Okay. So I think the wheel's been quite nice to me in this very first spin of doom for the Read It or Yeet It project. And it has selected A Wedding in December by Anita Shreve. So I've read several of her books previously and enjoyed them. So I'm expecting to probably quite like this book. It's been on the shelf for a very long time and I'm just not picking it up. For some reason, it's not appealing to me. So I stuck it on the list. And I'm actually quite pleased with this one as the first. It feels like a bit of a gentle introduction to the Read It or Yeet It challenge. This is a book about a wedding in the Berkshire Mountains of Western Massachusetts, where 7 former schoolmates gather for the celebration, and all of them have different aspects of their lives that they're working through, different secrets that they're trying to keep from people. And I think it's just going to be fairly literary, because she's quite literary, drama about what happens when they all gather for the wedding. So I'm going to give it 50 pages and I'll come back and then decide whether I'm going to read it or yeet it. So I have now read the opening chapters of A Wedding in December by Anita Shreve. I actually made it to page 66 because that was the end of chapter 3 and seemed like a good place to stop. So far, we've had 1 or 2 of the main characters arriving at the hotel in the mountains for the wedding, and the hotel is owned and run by one of the group of school friends who are reuniting for this wedding. And yeah, page 9, one of the characters said to one of the other characters, "Listen to us, we're so pretentious." And I thought, well, at least they know and they are aware and they are pointing it out to each other. Because yes, it is quite pretentious in the way that they talk and what they talk about, but I don't necessarily mind that. It's quite slow to begin with. I wasn't expecting, it to be kind of a thriller, because Anita Shreve's stories are generally quite slow, quite literary. It's very interior in terms of the themes. It's about the people and their interrelationships and how they feel about their lives and where they're going and what might happen to them and what has happened to them in the past. It is forcing me to read slowly, which I'm actually enjoying, because if you have watched any of my previous videos, you will know that I have been reading a ridiculous amount in the last few months. So it's nice actually to sit down and read a book which is forcing me to take my time, and I'm quite enjoying that aspect of it. I would say there are some issues. There's a Bill, a Bridget and a Brian, and also a Jerry, a Julie and a Jim. And that seems like it would have been easily avoided. One of the first things that I do when I'm naming my characters, when I'm writing a new novel, is to write a list of all the letters of the alphabet and assign character names to different letters and make sure that I haven't got duplicates unless it's deliberate, which it doesn't seem to be. There's no proper, reason why that would be the case in this book. And yeah, that leads into another aspect where one of the characters arrives at the inn at the start, and they're talking about all of the other people who are going to come to the wedding, and it just lists names and a little bit of information about them. By the end of chapter 3, we've only met 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. So yeah, 5, fair enough. It's quite a lot of characters to get to grips with, and there's still 2 that haven't turned up yet who are in the main group. The first chapter is all about Harrison coming to the hotel and reuniting with Nora, who runs the hotel. The second chapter is all about Agnes coming to the hotel and reuniting with Nora. And then the third chapter is about Bill and Bridget, who are the characters who are getting married, arriving at the hotel. So the previous characters we've met aren't then in the chapters. So it's a long time with individual characters. There's some that we haven't met yet, and I'm struggling a little bit with keeping hold of them all and who they all are and what makes them all distinct. But yeah, I have got to page 66, as I said, and I'm going to keep reading it. This is not going to be yeeted, not at this stage. That is my first read it or yeet it decision. A read, not a yeet. And I'm actually going to carry on reading it right now. So, I am back, having finished A Wedding in December by Anita Shreve, and it didn't really work for me in the end, unfortunately. One of the characters is a writer, which normally I enjoy in books, but we get very long sections of her story that she's writing, so there's a story within the story. And I found that pretty tedious. I wasn't invested in that aspect of the narrative at all. And there's also several times where people write very long letters, which go on for pages and kind of take you out of the narrative and make it a little bit more remote. It didn't really go anywhere much. It kind of started losing me towards the end, I have to admit. I did appreciate the acknowledgement that the versions of people who are close to us that we have in our heads are very much not necessarily like the real people. That was a good observation to make. And yeah, at the end there was an 11-page monologue from one of the characters doing a big reveal of some events from the past, which had a lot of significance in the rest of the book and how people had led their lives and the interrelationships between the people. And it just went on too long. And at the end, the person whose story that was, he was telling it, Harrison was telling the story. And in his viewpoint narrative, it said, "This was such a sordid and sad tale that I had just related." Yeah, I felt that too. And then what happened immediately after that also felt fairly sordid and sad. So I almost gave up 50 pages before the end, actually. And I kind of wish I had, because there was another 7-page monologue from a different character who told another sordid and sad story that came out of nowhere and didn't seem to have a huge amount of significance. And then the story within the story that Agnes was writing about the Halifax explosion, a ship exploding in a harbour in 1917, was incredibly grim, which I wasn't expecting from this book, and also sordid and sad. I have to say, the other narrative thread with the couple who got married, the wedding of the title, Bill and Bridget, I actually really enjoyed the conclusion of their story. I thought their arc was really good. A lot of very well observed aspects of that. And I was happy with where that ended up. But yeah, overall, not great. The overall theme seemed to be about regret and also accepting and having to let go of the dreams and expectations of youth to take on the disappointments and practicalities of middle age. And as a 47-year-old woman who is living my best life at the moment in my 40s, best decade so far, this is not a theme that I can get on board with. So yeah, probably should have yeeted this one, I think, at the 50-page mark near the start. And I don't know what to do now, because I've read 4 Anita Shreve books. 2 of them I really enjoyed, got a lot out of, thought was really good. 2 of them, not so much. So it's a 50-50 negative positive split. And I do have one more of hers on the shelf. So I'm wondering, should I yeet it without even trying it? Might have to think about that one. So yes, that was A Wedding in December by Anita Shreve. 2.5 stars giving this one. Some of the writing was good. Some of the characterization was good, but it was a bit dreary. So Stanley, we didn't yeet it at the read it or yeet it stage of the process, but shall we yeet it now? Let's yeet it now. Okay, here we go. Spin of Doom number 2. What's it gonna be? Oh, interesting. Okay. So, yeah, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Not something I was expecting, not something I'm looking forward to. So, I hate ebooks. I'm just going to say it. I don't know why you would think it would be awesome carrying hundreds of books around in just a little electronic thing, but I just can't get on with it. So I don't tend to read ebooks, and I don't tend to enjoy ebooks just purely because of the format. But my husband Dave and I have a joint ebook account, and we recently discovered there's a ton of books on there that neither of us remember ever obtaining, and we have no idea why we would have. We're pretty sure we didn't, and so we don't know why they're there. And One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is one of them. And so I thought, since they're there, I might as well put some of them on the Read It or Yeet It list and then eventually get round to them. But I'm not going to lie, this is pretty much bottom of the pile. I've no interest in reading this book. But apparently I'm gonna. So there we go. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I guess we'll see how it goes. So yes, I'm going to go and read I'll start right now. Why not? Start right now. Since I'm here and it's in my hand. Okay. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey. Kesey? We'll see. Okay, so I have read the first 50 pages of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I am shocked, absolutely, really surprised about this. Did not want to read this book, do not like ebooks, but this is so good. It's so good. I don't know why I should be surprised that it's good. I'm not surprised it's good. I'm surprised at how much I'm enjoying it, I have to say. The point of view character is not the one that I expected. I assumed the point of view character was going to be the one played by Jack Nicholson in the film, and it is not. It is someone else. But yeah, the main thing about this is the distinctive character voices. So you have a very strong narrative voice from the character whose viewpoint we have. And it's fascinating. It's a fascinating mind to be inside of, because he suffers from sensory distortions, hallucinations, and paranoid delusions, which are quite heavily described in the opening chapters. Not that there are chapters. That's my one gripe about this. There's no chapters. There's no scene breaks. It just goes on and on. But then it's drawing me in and it's making me want to read more. So maybe that's a good thing. Yeah, so it's quite challenging at times to read, and I don't know how much that's going to impact over the course of a whole book. I'm loving it at the moment, I have to say. It's pretty grim from the start, which I did expect. What I didn't expect was for it to be funny. It's pretty funny, and it's so clever. The language, the use of language, and the way that he describes all of the different people in the psychiatric institution that he is a patient in. It's a secure ward in a mental hospital in the 1960s. And yeah, the way he describes the terminology that he uses for the different types of patients and the different staff members is really clever. It kind of reminds me of A Clockwork Orange in some ways, even though it's not speculative. But yeah, getting on really well with it at the moment. As I say, I'm not sure how much my engagement will last over the whole book, but I am definitely intrigued at the moment. Not very much has happened. We've had a lot of description of day-to-day life in the hospital, and then this has been disrupted by the arrival of a new patient, McMurphy, who is clearly going to be making waves and causing some ructions, and I am here for it. So yeah, no question on the Read It or Yeet It. I wholly unexpectedly going to carry on reading this, and I'm actually going to carry on reading it right now because yeah, enjoying it. Who knew? Well, I don't even really know what to say. I just finished One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey, and 5 stars. I mean, it was incredible. Yeah. I perhaps should have waited a little bit after finishing it before discussing my final views. It was so good, I almost forgot that I was reading an ebook. And I hate reading ebooks, so that goes to show quite a lot. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. It made me laugh, it made me cry, it made me squirm. It had me absolutely mesmerized throughout most of it, but particularly towards the end. Really powerful ending. incredible relationships drawn in throughout the book amongst the different patients on the ward. Really fascinating battle between Nurse Ratched and McMurphy, because of the perspective of the narrative voice, which is Chief Bromden, who's one of the patients on the ward. There's some ambiguity, actually, really cleverly done at certain points as to whether McMurphy is a good guy and whether Nurse Ratched is actually bad, because of the perspective and the situations that the characters are in. Becomes clearer towards the end, absolutely. And yeah, I'm going to be thinking about that ending for a very long time. Really phenomenal writing, some of the most beautiful writing I've read in a very, very long time. Very powerful, very descriptive, really effective. I have to say the narrative voice did drop in and out a bit. The character's voice was very strong at the start, but it did dip in and out of his particular distinctive voice. And also there were some times where it was giving the inner thoughts of some of the other characters, which he wouldn't know. I mean, he might be able to speculate, but it seemed more like it was a universal narrator. But overall, yeah, totally blown away. I was really, really surprised by how fantastic this book is and how much I really enjoyed it. It's a tough read in places. It's very sad. It's also very funny. Really impactful. So yeah, I mean, there probably are content warnings to be aware of, but absolutely would recommend this. 5-star book. Who knew? So, okay, I'm not quite sure where this episode is going to go from here, but I guess let's go and spin the spinner and find out what book number 3 for Read It and Yeet It episode 1 is going to be. Right, I think I'm ready. Are you ready, Stanley? Let's see what Spin of Doom number 3 is going to bring us. Oh, okay. Not sure about that one, but I guess we'll have to give it a go. Okay, so the spinner has picked The Pastor's Wife by Elizabeth von Arnim. This has been on my shelf for a very long time. I believe I picked it up on a reading retreat. Sometimes the reading retreats go to houses that have libraries. They're usually Airbnb houses, and we're told that we can leave some of our finished books behind and take some from the shelf in the house, and I think that's where I picked this up. It's about Ingeborg Bullivant, great name, put upon daughter of the Bishop of Redchester, suddenly becomes possessed by the demon rebellion and takes a week's tour to Lucerne. Well, that actually sounds quite interesting. I love Lucerne. It's one of my favourite places I've ever been. And things happen, I guess. We'll find out. It is a bit chunky. It was published in 1914, and I have to say the font is a bit off-putting. It's very old-fashioned, almost like typewriter prompt. I have to admit that that's kind of putting me off a bit. I've picked this off the shelf and put it back on quite a few times, I think, and never got round to reading it. So I guess now I'm going to be reading it. I'm still a bit shell-shocked from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but I've got Stanley here. I've got a pot of tea. So I guess I might as well get to reading right now. No time like the present. So I'm back, having read the first 50 pages of The Pastor's Wife by Elizabeth von Arnim, and not really working out for me, unfortunately. so far we have been introduced to Ingeborg, who goes to London to see the dentist, and then, kind of giddy with her freedom from her family, she sees an advertisement for a tour of a week in Lucerne and just decides to off and go. We get the journey there, during which she has a very bizarre conversation with a German gentleman who's the only other person on the tour traveling on his own. And they talk about the purpose of windows and the best uses for manure. And then he decides he's in love with her and proposes. So that's kind of weird. Overall, the style is old-fashioned and not in a good way. There's lots of exclamation points and lots of italics where they don't need to be because the emphasis is obvious from the context. I mean, Ingeborg comes across as quite childish, didn't really connect with her, and her supposedly intended calls her little one, and it just makes me squirm. So I think I'm probably not going to be carrying on with this one, unfortunately. So at the 50-page mark, I'm not going to read it. So you know what that means, Stanley? We got to yeet it. Are you ready? Well done. It is out of our lives. So I guess that brings us to the end of this first episode of Read It or Yeet It. It's been a very mixed bag. So we had A Wedding in December by Anita Shreve, which decided to read and then should have actually yeeted. We got The Pastor's Wife by Elizabeth von Arnim, which have decided to yeet at the 50-page mark. And nobody's more surprised than me on starting this project. I thought I was largely going to be reading books that were dreary or tedious or unpleasant in some way. And in the very first episode, the project has made itself more than worthwhile by giving me a 5-star read. And 5-star reads are very few and far between for me. But One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey, pretty much can't fault it. Amazing. So there you go. First episode of Read It or Yeet It done. Definitely successful. So I'm going to be going on retreat very shortly, and that's going to be a whole extra vlog with very specific TBR for that, in which I'm going to be trying to tick off as many Reddit fantasy bingo squares as I can in a week on reading retreat. So that's going to be fun, and that's probably going to be my next video that's coming up. So please join me for that one. I am really looking forward to it, and I hope you are too. Bye for now.